Sabato, the founder of Sabato's Crystal Ball with the University of Virginia Center for Politics. Larry, thank you, as always, for joining. Quick questions for you here. Spanberger, as most people expected, the projected winner, but what would you say was really the key to her scoring points with voters directly?
Look, first, it's a Democratic landslide. In Virginia, in New Jersey, the Democrats retained the 3 Supreme Court seats in Pennsylvania. They won the 2 Public Service Commission seats in Georgia. In Virginia, I noticed you added some seats to the House of Delegates for Democrats. They're actually going to hit 60. They may go over 60. They haven't been there in 30 some years. So this is a Democratic landslide. It's awful news for Trump. It's good news for Democrats. Not particularly good news for Governor Youngkin. Most governors are able to at least get the candidates of their party close to winning, not defeated in a landslide. So there's no way to play this story other than a Democratic landslide, and then you go from there.
Do you think that part of it was I mean, it's always about a candidate, but at the same time, it can be much larger than a candidate. Was Winsome Earl-Sears the right nominee for Republicans, or is that where the problem lies?
Well, I'm told by Republicans that Governor Youngkin insisted that she be the candidate. Now, he can dispute that all he wants, but senior people have told me that. So if there's a mistake there, I guess you can ask Governor Youngkin about it. But I don't think it was just that. It wasn't even close to being just that. Donald Trump is deeply unpopular in Virginia, in cities and suburbs that matter. Yes, he's still popular in the rural areas, and you see what that amounts to, low 20s in terms of the actual vote percentage of the statewide total. So, it's Trump. It's the fact that Abigail Spanberger turned out to be a very good candidate, as we had suspected given her congressional campaigns. And the Republican candidate was subpar. But the incumbent attorney general was a good candidate, and millions were poured into that race, and he ran against a Democratic candidate covered in scandal. And yet it looks like the Democrat's been declared the winner, and probably by 3 or 4 percentage points. So again, it's so much bigger than any one factor than you could name. If I had to pick one, I would say it's the unpopularity of Donald Trump.
Well, and Larry, the timing's so critical because as we look at government shutdown and, of course, those DOGE cuts and federal jobs that in an area like Northern Virginia, where you have such a large population of voters that Democrats have to rely on and currently can feel like they were successful in that measure, the timing couldn't have been much worse for Republicans, right?
Yes. And of course, why did it turn out to be so much worse? Because that's the way Donald Trump arranged it. It's not as though these things happened out of the clouds. They happened because the president organized them, appointed people to run them in a way that would be very damaging to his candidates in many states, and particularly Virginia, given our large percentage of federal workers who've been furloughed or outright fired. So, all roads lead back to the White House. They won't want to admit that, but it's absolutely true. And many of the state Republicans are saying that privately. Of course, they'll never say it publicly because they don't want to offend President Trump.
Larry, as we look at the numbers, Spanberger up 14 points, Hashmi 10 points. So you see a little bit of a drop, which is understandable. That's pretty traditional. And then down for Jay Jones to a 5% margin. Now, of course, he's been declared the winner, so they can all exhale, and the party as well. But is that drop off surprising at all to you, the 14, 10, and 5, or do you think that the scandal regarding the texts for Jay Jones made this a lot closer of a nail biter than it would have been maybe a month ago?
Oh, absolutely. The text scandal, it wasn't just a text scandal. It was his going 116 miles an hour on Interstate 64 and then getting a sweetheart deal instead of the normal sentence that one would be given for that. And then he cheated on the public service hours. How he got away with all that, I think, merits looking into regardless of his election. But look, everybody knew the Attorney General race was going to be the closest of the 3. I think a lot of people are genuinely surprised that Jay Jones managed to win, given scandals that frankly would have drowned candidates 10 or 15 or 20 years ago in the pre-Trump era. That's the critical change. We're all used to scandal now, and a lot of it.
Yeah, and you're right about that. You certainly can survive something that 20, 30 years ago would have been your undoing. I mean, it's a big difference from a Howard Dean scream on a stage in New Hampshire. We have seen a different political landscape for sure. Larry Sabato, as always for your insights tonight on this big election night and a big win for Democrats across the board, as you pointed out. We appreciate it. We'll check in again soon.